Good morning. It is 8:59 a.m. on Thursday, May 16th, 2019. I'm Christiana Ellis, and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. You know, one of the things that is interesting about this experience of working from home for a period and then working, in Korea for a period, the periods where I'm working from home, one of the things that I knew I needed to be cognizant of is that I already personally have kind of a tendency to be a homebody. But when I'm working from home too, I want to try to be proactive and make sure I get out of the house. And I actually set a target for myself that I would get out of the house going somewhere to do something at least a little bit every day, even if it's just going for a walk. And I have not kept to that. I think more often than not I do something, but there are certainly days where I haven't. And one of the things that has produced that I wouldn't necessarily have expected is that when I'm getting ready to do these videos every morning, I sometimes feel like I have less to talk about. And I wouldn't have expected that because, lots of times I'm talking about video games or TV shows or movies and all of that sort of thing, and I still do those. But I think it allows any day where I'm just hanging out at home, even though I'm still doing things, just at home things, there's this perception in my brain that those things are less interesting somehow. I think this is not like a big problem that I'm trying to complain about. I'm not looking for pity or anything. It's more just I'm drawing a possible connection between two things that I hadn't thought of as related. I mean, I did do stuff yesterday. So like we had a great episode of So Many Levels yesterday where it's one of the examples of a Dungeons and Dragons session that I really love, because there are many sessions where I plan elaborate scenarios, combat encounters, or complicated plot points, and that sort of thing. But then there are also episodes where I don't have much of a plan, because I know the party kind of needs to make some big decisions about where they're going to go, and depending on what they choose, it could make a very big difference between what happens in a given session. And so usually in some of those scenarios, I'll just have a couple of minor little things, like, well, this thing is going to happen, and then when I feel like the time is right, this thing will happen, and so on. But it's not very much prep, and so that can be anxiety-inducing to say, like, have I prepared enough? But usually things just tick right along and work out just great. And so last night was an example of a session like that, where it was allowing the characters some time to role play and be their characters and inhabit their characters and recognize amongst themselves collectively like how much they've been through and sort of process all of that. And I think that that's important and fun. And it was a great session despite the fact that I hadn't prepared very much. So that was fun. And, I have other plans in mind, like I want to go see Detective Pikachu, and then I guess John Wick 3 I think is starting this week, I think. So I definitely have stuff to do. It's more so what I was talking about at the beginning of this video is less a factor of feeling like I don't have anything in my life, but just this sense of when every day starts to feel the same, even when they're not the same, really. But when you get into a little bit of like a routine, that can produce a feeling of blandness, even when, if you actually look at each individual day and look at the things that you're doing, it's like, well, it's not the same every day. But human beings, we have this contradictory set of impulses that I think drives a lot of human behavior ultimately, where we have a desire for novelty and excitement and new and interesting things, but we also have a desire and an impulse towards safety and predictability. And I think that that sort of balance drives a lot of our development of, you know, we want to try a new thing, but then we want to retreat back to safety. And we want to try a new thing, and then we retreat back to safety. And you can watch toddlers do this, you know, in their early stages of development. You'll see that when they first start being able to consciously decide to go ahead and walk away from mom or dad and walk into another room, and you'll watch them kind of toddle off into the room and go around the corner and then peek back, just like make sure their parents are still there. And I think so that balance of wanting the predictability and safety, but also wanting the novelty, I think when you get yourself into a little bit too much of a consistent routine that doesn't vary enough, you start feeling like maybe you want some more novelty, even if you are still doing interesting things, really. And so I think that's maybe where I'm at. And so it just goes to show you, I think, that when working from home, that impulse that I've had and not always pursued of saying you need to make sure I'm getting out of the house to do something every day, you need to do that. It's a good idea. So in any event, I hope that your lives out there are currently a manageable balance of novelty and predictability, and I will talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.